Welcome back, everyone, to a brand spanking new episode of Ecosystem Insights. With me today, it's co-host Fez. Fez, welcome. How are you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good. It's been so long. We haven't done this for a couple of months now, right?
We've been doing ecosystem interviews where we pull in,
Yes.
a team or a project building something on or around Icon, but we haven't actually
Mm.
sat together, the two of us, to catch up on what's going on. So this is our chance, our opportunity to just run through the news, run through what apps have been doing, what Icon has been doing, but most importantly, what have you been doing, Fez?
Just my day job,
Yeah.
which is Icon. So it goes hand in hand. Yeah, no. Apart from that, David, a bit of degenning as always. I can't help myself. You think I would learn from my mistakes, but
Yeah.
I don't. Um,
I
but
haven't looked at a chart in months. I remember we used to draw these ETH lines and Bitcoin lines, and you do a little bit of TA yourself. You
ah,
dabble, you dabble.
I do. In fact, I hadn't looked at a chart for a long time. Yesterday, I not only looked, but I dabbled. I cleared the chart and relined things up. It felt good bringing out the old skills. Um,
And did
so
the
far,
old lines make any sense?
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. And it was good because the market has dropped and it's tapped exactly where I made the line. So if we rebound, I still got it. If we don't, right as of right now, if it still keeps sinking, I haven't got it.
Mhm.
I've lost the skill. I never
Shame.
really had it, but.
Don't get me wrong. I'll look at prices to get a general idea of what the market is doing, where it's going.
Mm.
It gets really blurry sometimes. Um, but no TA lines and that kind of stuff. So that's on you.
Yeah, yeah.
We're not
I
going
know.
to pull it up.
No, no, we're not. I remember you're very much a Twitter vibe kind of guy. So
True. Twitter
nice.
sentiment, Twitter vibes, indeed. A lot happening there over the past couple of months with Twitter changing to X, uh, verification features rolling out, algorithms changing. I'm getting a lot of new people popping up on my timelines. It's quite different
Mm,
these days, so it's hard to test and check the sentiment. I think I get a lot of big news just coming through.
yeah.
Like big uh, news for crypto in general. So what was it like? Obviously, you get the news about these spot ETFs and futures being.
Mm,
They try to list these on the big exchanges, and then a lot of layer two news, uh, blockchains spinning up left, right, and center. All these blockchains need to
ledgers.
talk to each other in a way. They need to communicate. So,
Ah, I
what are
wonder
we going
who's
to do about
focusing on
that?
that. Yeah, I know. I know. Okay,
There's a lot
well,
of ways to do that, by the way. Is another thing that we've discovered. There's always
definitely.
have been, but yeah,
That
you see that too.
and everyone believes their way is the right way or should
Yeah.
be the supreme way. And something I guess we used to think as Icon as well. However, obviously, since the start of the year, the strategy has shifted, kind of going there isn't going to be one, there's going to be many, and let's try to get a part of everything. So let's jump into the news. I think today, towards the end, if you stick around, me and David will also give more context of our day jobs, some of the things we've been working on. I think a lot of what we're doing, you're seeing out there happening with regular updates and things like that. When the dev updates and stuff come out, that's part of the goals getting kicked. It's what we're doing in the day job, and I don't just mean me and David. I mean everyone at the foundation, obviously, but that is now me and David as well. So, but let's get started, David. News. What have we first got? The Iron Icon website. No, don't forget about that. Okay.
Right. That is a good starter if you want.
Yes.
The Blobble plug, the one project that we've helped out with. Bring us back to Blobble, do you? Quick
Yeah.
plug. If you haven't noticed, Blobbles are like Tamagotchis on the blockchain, meaning you keep them healthy every day. And there's currently 196 blobbles being kept healthy every day by users in the ecosystem. And
Mm.
then in turn, you get rewarded as an owner. Beautiful plug. Might get back to that later. And now let's
Yep.
kick off with the real news. Because
Okay.
this one has been taking my Twitter timeline by storm. The
Mm.
IBC integration announcement. And I know you've had a lot more to do with this than me in a sense. But what Icon has done is it has finalized the integrations on testnet to Archway and Neutron.
Hmm.
and it's
Yep.
running IBC on IBC or a version of IBC.
So integrated to the IBC protocol. Yeah. So we built. So the biggest difference. So the IBC component is built into like the SDK, the blockchain SDK. So in the Cosmos universe, and maybe the Cosmos fan may say I've not said it accurately. That may be a case, but in general, the SDK, the part of what forms spinning up the blockchain, this is part of that build, right? So that's why when you say like if you build a dApp chain or something, you launch a chain with IBC, by default you've got instant access to every other IBC chain because it's just part of the SDK. It's part of its infrastructure. For us to do that, we can't, and then there would be a requirement for other chains to then hard fork in certain circumstances. So what we did was we recreated those in smart contracts, and this is kind of what the blog post covers. And yes, so we're running IBC. We're just running it via a smart contract version, and now the so this is a bit of insights into what's transpired over time, right? So we started this, we announced this in January. There'd been a bit of planning before that, obviously, in terms of this is the route we want to go down, a bit of research. The dev teams did a lot of research of what needs to happen, what exists, what can we copy, what can we port, what's the build going to look like. And in January, basically, the project started off, and we had a bit of an internal timeline, which did show that the goal was when we built out this piece, I wanted a date where we're going to be on testnet, and the date was always 14th of August. That's kind of where we pin marked. Obviously, this date wasn't made, put out. And the main reasons for that is never does it always just go to plan. Always something terrible happens in between. And we've been community members. We still are community members. And, you know, the delay, the sting of a delay in Icon especially really hurts. And so we didn't want to go down this path. Like, didn't want to give a bit of a false promise and not be able to deliver to it and let people down again. So obviously kept those days hidden, but tried to keep a transparent build process with the board. And as things were progressing, kept everyone updated through the dev updates and things like that. But for everyone else, like, this is not just saying it, in the background, we did have this date earmarked, and we literally delivered. And original scope was 1, but luck would have it that we pushed and got through for 2 chains. So that's 1. 2, Venture 23, like, full shout out there. Like, they're the core development team behind all the work that's been done. And yeah, like I said, there were a few close calls where the guys worked very late nights and stuff to get across those hurdles to make sure there were no implications. But the reason why I'm telling this long-winded tale was, you asked me the implementation. So we've created these as smart contracts on the Rust side. Now, in the background, there is some of these updates going on the IBC, you know, with new features and stuff. And one of them, it puts in this WASM client that the blockchains can upgrade their chain to. And when that happens, we actually won't need to deploy the smart contract side on the Rust to any chain we want to connect to IBC. We'd be able to default just connect. So, and that's like, there's one chain, Composable Finance, that have built this integration. They're actually live, and one of the goals is now we'll connect to them because with this component, like I said, don't have more contracts to deploy to connect to new chains, etc. So, so it'll make a bit of the work redundant, but it's not redundant because a lot of the Cosmos chains, they may update to this spec at different times. So some chains that we want to connect to may take a year to push this update to their chain.
Yes.
But thanks to the smart contracts we built, we can just deploy the contracts and still get connected. Or if they have this, we're then just open a channel and we're connected. So to your question, it is IBC. There's no difference. We're running IBC. It's just at the moment, the IBC, the way we're connected via contracts. The core IBC is being built as contracts and deployed on the chain we want to connect to.
Yeah. So, okay. So what you're saying is, for the first time ever, you didn't communicate a date, And that's
And
exactly the time that you delivered spot on
yeah.
within the 24-hour range on the delivery. Excellent. So let's stick to that method. Is that the Fez factor, Fez? Are you calling people at night telling them to get on with it?
There was no. Look, in all honesty, there was a solid team dedicated to it with the V23 guys,
Yeah.
Venture 23, and like like with everything, they care. And yeah, so when hurdles were hit, it wasn't about 5 o'clock, let's clock off, come back the next day. It was like, oh crap, a hurdle's hit. Doesn't matter, it's midnight. Let's solve this, otherwise it could derail the whole project. And that kind of mentality goes a long way, you know. So definitely. But so this is kind of here. Yes, 14. Technically, David, we were a month early. Archway has been on testnet for a while, but there was constant updates to the relay and things like that during the testing process. So it wasn't kind of no point going and advertising it, because if then someone went to use it and stuff isn't working, it's kind of a terrible look. So in this case, now things are running, and now we're on that internal audit. So we've kicked off a bunch of internal processes and around audits before we get external auditing done. Traditionally, what would happen is like you do all your testing, get everything done. It's okay, now go pay a buttload of money for an auditing firm, and they'll do the audits. And then but we've seen our ecosystem's gotten hit. We've done due process, so we've kind of had a bit of an internal review to go, okay, what can we do to be not so dependent on the audits? Yes, we need audits, but what can we do internally to get better at this process, so we've got a more robust protocol or whatever we're working on in production? So thanks with Cyrus and Anton and a few other guys chipping in and brainstorming, we've created a bit of an internal audit review where once the teams are done, we've created kind of a standard we have to follow. And before that happens, the guys kind of workshop and see what's out there in the industry, what's going on, what are we specialized in versus what hacks have happened, and then kind of execute it based on what we've built, etc. So we're at that phase at the moment. And the second that's done, the goal will be to move to production, mainnets. Audits are locked in. In this case, one of the things we want to do is with the IBC piece is in the IBC ecosystem, they have a very prominent auditing firm there that specialize with everything IBC. They know it end to end. That's all they do. So we wanted to make sure we got it audited by that particular team. And we've got a window and we've locked it in. So
nice.
Looking forward to that. But at the same time, that's not going to stop us to getting to mainnet. We can be on mainnet, just like with Icon Bridge, with a temporary message kind of going, the code, the IBC integration hasn't been audited externally. And we'll move from there. So once that's done, David, then, in the background at the moment, the next steps we're planning, because one of the things I want to get into is this constant state of delivery, but it doesn't just happen. Like there has to be time and resourcing dedicated into a bit of research of what needs to happen and how the next whatever we decide to do gets built. So it's been quite busy on our side of things over here, because yes, the team is at the tail end, so we need to have a clear cut. And I don't want the team to take a 2-month pause to research. I want the research to already have happened by senior architects and things like that to map out the next phase, which is, everyone knows, the goal is to keep expanding xCall, but it's not a simple thing of deploy it and it'll work. You've got to deploy it and then research the other interoperable solutions like layer 0, etc., and figure out, okay, what are the components you need to build out the modules to make it compatible with xCall. And so a lot of that research is getting done right now, with the architecture being mapped out of how that will work. It's just part of your development cycle.
And the direction in which the research goes depends on a couple of factors: market factors, business development side of the project. Where are the opportunities? Which apps on which blockchains are actually interested or keen or dying to use the xCall product and other connections that can be facilitated. So I guess that is where it all comes together. And on the audits, that is interesting. This firm, I guess they're Rust specialized auditors. Then I was in at ETHCC in Paris talking to this girl who was an auditor at Trail of Bits, is I think the name, a massive auditing firm in the Ethereum ecosystem. And I actually asked these questions where I said, like, how does this, I understand you can't give guarantees after you've audited a project, but don't you think it's unfair for a project to pay a buttload of money and then get audited, get a stamp of approval, and then 2 weeks later, don't you think the system should be different? And she agreed in a way that she said, yeah, what we do is we launch a lot of open source tooling that projects can actually grab. So if you'd have your internal audit team or whatever, they could grab the open source tools to help them shield them from common hacks or pitfalls that we've already seen. But the only vice is that this particular company does that very well in the Solidity programming language.
Yes.
So the tooling doesn't work when, so when you're doing this cross chain where you need to be speaking all these different languages, then you cannot rely on this single source of tooling for that. Don't know if this Rust firm does free open source tooling, but
no. Look, you're right, and in Solidity there is a lot out there. Even basic scans, like where you can put in your contract and it will quickly scan based on a complete list of vulnerabilities that exist from a code perspective and an actual vulnerability. Because Solidity is all Web3 based, these databases they can be utilized for Solidity, but stuff like this exists for Java because Java is such a big language and prominent, but not for Web3, so not for smart contracts. So it's very different. So this is something as well, believe it or not, part of the creating this internal review process that Min touched on in one of the, I believe it was in your interview, Min was chatting about, like, this was one of the things, what can we do here? Can we use any of this stuff that exists in Java? And we spent a bit of time in the background exploring, but the conclusion was not a lot of it can be used, or we would have to build these kind of programs so that we could use it, and some of the teams that are currently still building and doing things in Icon could actually tap into to make their code, check their code and make sure it's not susceptible to the basic hacks that are out there. But it's a big world out there once you start having all these different conversations of different parts of the build and what needs to happen. And Web3 definitely this security audits is Web2 has it, but a lot of Web2 software is closed source, and then those companies have their QAs and things, like they have teams that kind of do that component for them. So they don't necessarily go out there for audits. It's a very robust quality testing framework that every update goes through before it gets into production. So Web3, the difference is once it's a smart contract, it's all open source, right? So you can't
anyone can call it.
Exactly. So that's where the rise of auditing firms. But we're already seeing this, what firms are good and what aren't. Anyway, I think we've kind of got sucked into a black hole. Thoroughly enjoying the conversation, but
we need news.
Hopefully listeners have appreciated this. If not, put some in the comments and go, David, Fez, shut up. Stick to the news. Or
get on with it. Oh, yeah.
David, Fez, keep ranting. Okay, so I think we've covered this quite comprehensively. The links are there. The repos are open. Anyone can go and check it out to see how we've done the builds. There's clear notes and deviations in the IBC spec and stuff like that too. David, you are asking, is it IBC? It is. In terms of Ethereum, other chains, when they adopt or anyone's building, there's always some kind of deviation in the protocol spec if you need things to work or it's not compatible. Sometimes they do that. And all this stuff is anyway referenced in the repos.
Yeah.
But okay, next up. That's a newsletter. If you aren't subscribed, make sure you subscribe. Next up.
xCall documentation looking good. This is the xCall.dev website where anyone who wants to use xCall to make cross-chain transfers across a couple of blockchains that are currently connected on testnet. You go here, and you can read all about what xCall is. You can use Dive tooling to set up your local environment. Has been made as easy as possible, I guess. Fez, if you click on the quick start.
Yeah, aren't I on quick start? No.
You're on getting started.
Yeah,
on the left,
getting
there's a menu.
Yeah,
and
quick start. There we go.
You can set up a local environment. You can do it with the Dive CLI tooling, which should make it a lot easier to do that.
Dive? What's that?
DIVE. We asked Irfan on the interview what it stands for, and it's a whole sentence. And I think right there and then we agreed to just call it Dive.
Yep.
So yeah,
it's pretty cool what they're doing. What I was alluding to, David, is you telling about the interview we did about Dive.
Exactly. So I think we should link that. And we did an ecosystems interview with the HugoByte team and Kurtosis. The HugoByte team is the team that built this Dive tooling that helps you set up your cross-chain local environment so that you can start building with xCall. And it is powered by Kurtosis, which is an open source piece of tooling that you can use to your advantage. So we did an interview where it was all explained by the guys who actually built the stuff. We had Derek representing Kurtosis, and we actually have Derek has actually made another video in which he shows how to use Dive, like a little tutorial. That is going to be posted up on the documentation here as well. The only question I have is, why are you in light mode? Aren't all the cool kids in dark mode these days?
I told you this at the start. Now you're intentionally revealing my dirty secret. So I can't stand dark mode. When I go into dark, I don't know, it just throws me. I like the damaging eyes effect. Okay, David?
Do your eyes feel damaged? See, mine never feel damaged. Like I've been browsing everything in light mode for all my life.
Yeah, same.
I don't know. Like, do you reckon there's like a bunch of boomers with bad eyes who are now preaching dark mode?
Maybe.
Or
oh God.
Or is it just developers like in basements?
I've tried. I've forced myself. I just find it unnatural. Anyway.
I guess it depends on how light your room is. Like I'm always in a light room, so I like a light backdrop, I suppose.
True. Yeah. No, I see that. I also, one thing, David, I want to call out here. This is quite a nice. This is not the normal dev docs that everything, all the icon stuff is in. This is like xCall has gotten a special, and it's like looking really jazzed up. Do you have anything to do with this?
Well, it's one of those things, I think, good-looking docs attribute to getting your product out there. So I was quite keen on getting our docs, giving our docs a facelift and making them 2023 proof. And there's frameworks that help you do this, and a lot of the new blockchains, layer 2s, whatever coming out, you see, they're up with the times, and their documentation just looks good. Friendly to the eye, and Icon deserves that, and if anything, xCall deserves that. So with the teams, we just put in a bit of extra work to get the xCall documentation migrated to this environment, where it's pleasing to the eye. It works great on mobile. If anyone wants to do some mobile developing, I highly doubt it, but for referencing, it's good. And I guess a lot of people enjoy browsing it in dark mode.
Yeah, of course. So David, great stuff on the build. I know some of these graphics and stuff is by Rook as well, who does a ton of this stuff, which is awesome. Good, a huge shout out to him.
Do I spot a typo? What is xCall? Is that one L?
Man, how are you seeing this? No, there's
two
L's.
Okay, it's just the resolution on my screen.
Light mode. That's what it's doing to you, man. Okay. Next up. So, no, I just opened that. So, obviously, very quickly, everyone's known about this. So, the incentivized testnet is running. This is for xCall over BTP. So, if you haven't registered, or is the registration phase over, David?
Yeah, the pre-registration phase is over because the program is live.
Mm,
So right now, what you can do is you can build, you can compete in the challenges, and whenever you're done and you think that your submission is a winner, you can actually go and submit it.
mm.
I think there's another blog. If you go back to the blog section here, there's another blog on how to submit, and that's
Oh yeah,
kind of
yeah.
the phase that we're at. And then bottom right, you can actually see the ticker. There is over 3 weeks left on this
Oh, bottom right.
incentivized testnet,
Yes.
which, let's highlight, connects on testnet Binance Smart Chain, Ethereum, and Icon. So this
Mm,
is not yet we're not yet incentivizing the usage of the Archway and Neutron connections. So this is the inaugural testnet, you could say,
yeah.
limited in its connections, so maybe limited in its in the capabilities. But I think the challenges reflect that, where you get
Yep.
challenged to make a cross-chain transaction. Just simply making one nets you 1 or 200 ICX.
Mm,
Building a dApp that simply does these transaction can already go into the thousands of ICX that you can win for doing these relatively simple challenges, because we want people to use the product, and we want people to go through those good looking dev docs and use them. And if there's any feedback, we've opened up channels for that so that we can improve the product. And as we grow in connections with other teams, projects, and blockchains, we know that the foundation is good. There's a solid
mm.
base there for new developers to come in, get up and running, and get started. So that's all that's going on right now. 25 days left. There's multiple teams building in different challenge categories. I don't know if any submissions have come in yet, but if I was building, I would probably not submit yet. I would probably hold out and improve and
Yeah.
try to win the categories. So that's where that's at.
Yeah, cool. And just a little add on to that. So yes, Archway and Neutron aren't part of this incentivized testnet program. However, if there's a team listening, and wants to actually do something there, definitely reach out to David, because there's help on hand in any way, shape, or form. So David is the right person to chat to, or even Eric for that matter. So would that be
Eric
right?
too. Yeah, because
Yeah.
what we are actively looking for, teams and projects that want to align their use cases or their product with what we're building.
Mm,
So right now, because we're not connected yet to everything, we cannot go out with like an open pitch
mm,
and say, look at how amazing this xCall product is. It's so easy to use. It's so easy to switch protocols. There's this double safety layer. You can do
yeah.
double verification, because we're at the beginning stage of
Yeah.
the connectivity. And when it goes, it goes. And you've explained that earlier, where you said that it took a while to build these smart contract implementations, but with edits made
Mm,
on the IBC side and edits made on our side, it's actually much more easy. It's much easier to connect chain number 3, 4, 5, and 6. Like,
yeah.
that's where it's going. And but right now we are actively looking for projects to kind of collaborate with,
Mm,
and we've opened up the incentivized testnet to give everyone like entrance. But your development has already surpassed in speed, and the next connections are already here. So yes, we are open to any teams or projects that want to develop on that
mm,
Archway Icon connection, Archway
yeah.
Neutron Icon as well,
Yeah.
that we've just published to testnet.
Yeah, and one thing, David, I forgot to say, but I want to call out. So early on in the initial planning stages, and a large part of the Rust component of the IBC piece was done by Hugo Byte. So that, and this is kind of where then they have kind of moved into this dive package and stuff, because the experience, they've also realized, yep, there's aspects missing that have really hindered development and post-development, how users actually use what's being built. And this is kind of where the dive, I know I've backtracked, but giving a bit of insights into what they went and did on their own. They kind of went and saw, yep, these were challenges we faced. This would be quite good. Worked with Cyrus in the background, and Cyrus is quite this is one of his strengths. He totally gets what tools that devs need to be enabled to start building. And I'm not referencing Icon, I just mean in general, he gets that's his bread and butter. He understands it. So great stuff by Hugo, kind of helping initially and then kind of venturing off and finding this and bringing it back to aid Icon. And I know one of our lead architects has been playing with the initial cuts of the dive and have been giving sensational feedback that how much it's simplified the entire deployment process. So part of this, like, why have I referenced this? Because like this is the kind of tooling that when these incentivized testnet, like potentially teams can use. Like you don't have to even go and worry about the end-to-end demo and stuff. You just run it through Dive, you have everything set up and off you go. So we'll move along.
Let's have a look at some apps and dApps and stuff going on in the Icon ecosystem. We've talked about the Yetis. We've had them on an ecosystem interviews episode. It was the Framed team, and they talked about their new website, the Yeti Farms. Well, fast forward a couple of weeks, and it's been launched. This is currently we're looking at the Yeti Farms on Craft, so this is the secondary market. Users are able to purchase the farms off the Yeti strongclub.io website right now. And with these farms, you're going to be able to essentially have your Yetis live in the farm or stake your Yeti in the farm. And the combination, depending on which types of Yetis and which types of farms you own and connect, it's going to yield a different revenue stream from the Framed ecosystem. So a lot of, Icon ecosystem members own Yeti. And they, for the first year of their existence, with a small extension at the end, they were earning 1 framed token a year, right? That was the reward. And the framed token comes from multiple pools. There's a whole tokenomic backend there. But that stops when the farm staking is enabled. So anyone owning Yeti are no longer automatically getting that 1 token per Yeti per day. But you're going to have to get involved with the farming, the literal farming. And the website actually looks smashing. Like,
you haven't got it.
No, but
then
loaded. I urge anyone to go to yetistrongclub.io. It's just the interface. It's so squeaky clean. It's very, very nice to interact with.
This is very high praise coming from David. I'll have you all know. So he's quite the critique of websites.
Some things I like. Yeah.
Yes.
Like
so one thing to note, like, as long as your Yeti is a year older, so if you've just bought a Yeti and it's 2 months old, you're still, even if you don't have a farm, you're still earning frame tokens. But apart from that, exciting, great to see Framed, and then they've got their game. But it's been a while since we've done this, so I'm glad we covered this. Shall we move on to the next?
Yeah, but also I'd like to note that the Craft NFT platform, which is going to connect to the Neutron blockchain, is also like sliding in these updates to their UI, their interface, their possibilities. In a bit, we're going to talk about Alter, and we're going to see their new launchpad. It's looking good, and it's functioning. Look at this. It's changed. It's better now, and I can't wait for it'll be a while for them to get around finalizing the entire connection. But for Craft to be cross-chain with a chain like Neutron, an up-and-coming young dApp chain in the Cosmos ecosystem, I think it's something to look forward to.
Indeed. Oh, look at this. Yes, I haven't been on I used to go to the Craft site every second day to claim my yield, but ever since the bribing and stuff like that, I've forgotten about it.
Yeah,
I am part of the bribes, no diss. I'm full part of the bribes, but I keep forgetting to go and claim. But yes, it's definitely looking.
If you don't claim, do you lose?
I don't know. I haven't claimed. I should go back to it.
There's a treasure pile waiting for you. or it's like nothing. And you're like, okay, I forfeited my rewards here.
Basically, time will tell when I remember.
You've gotten numb, Fez. You've gotten numb.
I really have. It's bad. Okay. Next thing, let's move on. So this is really good.
Yeah,
David,
move
you're
on.
itching to say.
Well, move on to the next tab to introduce
Oh,
this one, because this is
okay.
the website. And I think it looks much better than just the general documentation.
Yeah.
Go.
Oh, wow. Okay. So the launch of the cruise. This is the official website. Now, I am one of those guys. I've actually said, even in the past, some of the stuff Alta is doing, if you don't have your finger on what's going on, you can lose track of things. Every time this has happened, I've been fortunate enough to get a hold of Frankie, get updates, or actually have him on the show where we get downloads straight from him, and we're like, yes. But this is one of those times where me and David aren't quite up to date with what's going on. There's a lot of exciting stuff going on. They've got a DAO process that's launched that you can get part of. It's combining a bunch of chains. This is super high level stuff that I'm giving you. But what I'm leading to, David, is that's okay. You don't now have to DM Frankie and ask for updates on what is going on. You can just go straight to the wiki. There is a wiki now, David.
It's all here. What I've gathered, Alter is obviously a merchandise and clothing brand on chain, so with like an NFT component to it, and they're launching on different chains, and they're setting up DAOs on different chains called Cruise. At the moment, there's two chains like announced. There's the Icon chain, and then there's the Sui chain where the next like episode will happen. Two more to follow, and right now you can actually purchase your, I think it's your DAO NFT from the Craft Launchpad, which is probably your next tab right here. And I think the phase 1 whitelist has been live before. Right now they're in phase 2. Yeah, and this is essentially, this is your buy-in, if you will. And for us to better bring to the ecosystem what's going on here, we have a vehicle for this. It's called Ecosystem Interviews.
Indeed.
And I think it's time, Fez. I think it's time that we get Alter on. We talk about everything from A to Z, what's happened in the past, what are they doing now, and where are we going to? That way you won't forget, I won't forget, and everyone knows. So
damn right. Okay, on it. I will DM him after this show, and he'll know that, because if he hasn't received a DM, he'll DM me after listening to this show. So it's like a win-win.
It gets a bit awkward.
Yes, that also. Okay, what have we got next? Okay, so with Iconus, what's this?
Yeah, Fez. What is this?
What?
I can help you out. Why don't you hit go back here? With Iconist DAO is the DAO launched in the Icon ecosystem by John and Arosh, who are community managers, where they essentially enable or empower Icon community members to contribute to the Icon ecosystem, and they do that in multiple ways. On the website with iconists.com, you can read their blog postings about what's going on. There's links to their DAO governance page, which is built with the Agora tooling, which was a prior CPS by the Stakey team, I believe. And they have an initiatives page with what they're up to. And now the latest news, what they've actually done is you have these Zeely quests where, as community members, you can get rewarded XP for engaging in certain ways. Engaging can be a quest to write a thread, a quest to like a page, to leave a comment somewhere. And the XP up until now is just that, XP. There's a leaderboard, and there's been some incentive before where you could earn Alter, speaking of the devil, Alter caps for the top 10 in the XP leaderboard. What they've done now is they've gotten ICX funding, and they're translating the XP to real ICX tokens and rewarding that to the community members who are engaging. So if you're a community member engaging through Zeely, rising up the leaderboards, you're actually going to get paid the equivalent like ICX to the XP that you've earned. Obviously, there's a divider in there somewhere. Like if you have 10 million XP, I don't think that translates to 10 million ICX just yet. But that's what's happening. So engagement is real money following Zeely quests. And Zeely quests are, like I just said, anything like it's engaging, like you and I do, like a lot of people do. You log into the Zeely platform though, and you kind of verify your engagement. So some integrations happen automatically, like this page, and then if you go and like it, Zeely will know and credit you with the XP. And some of them are manual, so you actually upload proof, and then it gets validated, and then you get assigned your XP. So that's what that is. And
very cool. And I totally love Zeely until everyone was doing it, and then it was just like, I just don't have time to do any of this stuff. But I loved the idea that, like, the idea of earning XP is why people flock to it, right? All of a sudden you got these tasks, a sense of achievement, but after a while you start realizing unless there's some other thing happening that you're going to get, the XP is not worth anything. So this is kind of a reward structure. Like the XP is kind of earning you in the background. ICX, well, now it's worth something. So doing these tasks are totally worth it. Love it. Love it. Next.
Yeah, let's move. Next, we are back at the Blobble, which we covered all the way at the start. Just look, we've both advised on this project, and we had fun doing it, and we still have fun taking care of our Blobbles every day. So we thought we might as well pump some...
My Blobbles. Oh, yes. After this,
yeah. That is such a common feeling. Like, you know, like, oh, I need to feed them. And then you have to log in and you go feed them. But you can also pay ahead 7 days. That's then all those, you know, I always do it when I can because I forget so often and I want to take care of my little Blobble. So you pay ahead 7 days, which costs like $3. But that $3 goes into the treasury and gets distributed to Blobble owners over time. So the treasury is currently at 7K. I see there's 196 healthy Blobble out there. If everyone's just paying ahead to take care of their Blobbles, that money goes into the treasury and then gets redistributed again to all the players, amongst other influxes of capital into the game, essentially.
Yep, and then
BST.
Yep, there you go. So it's steadily climbing. Can't wait for it to hit the 1.20, David. I think.
When do you think that will happen?
Don't know. It's a tough one. So if people start redeeming BST, that'll make the price climb. If we have a mass influx of buys, and this is kind of one of the things, I don't know, like you don't need to get a Blobble if it's too much responsibility. BST is just, it's not connected in terms of like you can mint and redeem BST and just be with BNUSD and sit on it. So if you're just, there's no more money market on Icon at the moment. And so this is a great way of just banking. If BNUSD is around, BST is around. It's not going anywhere. The more people redeem, the higher it gets. Anyway, people know the stick. I think for me, David, the biggest call out was 196 Blobbles still going. That treasury's from day dot has been hovering around this between 6,000 to 7,000 BST. So because new mints go not to the team or anything like that, majority of it, 70% of it goes straight into the treasury. And I think we skipped over this, which was you jazzed up the site, made it more, tight, confined, to the point.
It was completely all over the place with a purpose because we were just trying to have fun. And then over time, it wears you down. So just put everything in some nice grid boxes and made it mobile friendly as well. So there you go.
Look at all of them bulbs. Okay, let's move on. What is this? What have I got up here? Seems like just a random tab that I forgot to close. Cool. Okay. CPS. Oh, yeah. Okay, so looks good, doesn't it?
CPS is booming.
With the right kind of projects.
there's projects in there that are all that seem like good, like long-term investments, because they're tooling. Like, for example, there's a 5,000 BNUSD proposal here to improve on the dive tooling that we covered earlier, to make it even more expansive, so that you can use it to set up your local environments for more chains. Like, that seems like a smart investment to me.
Yeah.
It's mostly tooling. And then I wanted to highlight that if you go to the dashboard, that the CPS in terms of funding looks quite healthy as well. I actually thought,
Yeah. So, yeah.
yeah, right here.
Yeah.
Like, there's a good treasury value there, to get people to come in and propose.
Yeah. And like, definitely not seeing us people coming and building applications. I think bear market, it's quite difficult for even existing applications and stuff to kind of start building unless they get heavily VC funded, etc. But what's really cool about this, yes, it's all tooling. I think it's all in line with a strategic direction. The focus is more on xCall and how do we set ourselves up to get xCall adoption. And like, the dive is a great one. Yes, we've seen the initial, but like, to make it so where you go type a command and it deploys everything, dive just doesn't do that. Kurtosis in the background, like, someone has to build it all so that then someone can do that to deploy and then start building what they need to on top of it, thanks to the setup. So they've saved themselves 5 hours and all that, going here, there. So I feel like we'll see a few of the dive implementations, because at least Hugo in the background are working closely with foundation team members in terms of understanding what are we working on next, to make sure that if this is what we want, and it'll enable the teams, which I'm telling you right now it will, that they are in line with what they're implementing next. So, we know, okay, Archway, Neutron, well, these are the next. And we've seen, I think that's what the next, this is what this is about. And then as we expand, whatever the next piece is, the goal would be, okay, to start implementing. So I guess my call out is here, every time we hit some milestones, I wouldn't be surprised to see Kurtosis, the dive package, coming in for a small grant from CPS to make sure the package gets updated, because the end goal is you want it to spin up our product, environment with our product set, so that the builders can build on whatever interoperable protocol they want to, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I wanted to make that call out because obviously I've also had a few conversations in the background trying to understand how it will work and its eventual evolution, which is covered in the interview that we did, David, by the way.
Ecosystem interviews.
That's
They're
right.
booming.
That's right.
They're going viral.
Okay, I think that's good, but it's good to see. I'm actually excited about the multi-sig. I think so desperately want this. This is something, I can't believe it's taken so long for this to happen.
So talk to it, Fez, because I didn't know that you were this excited about a multi-sig CPS proposal.
Oh yeah, like, so basically, you can have one wallet controlled by parties, as many as you nominate, and it's something like you want teams that are building like products and stuff kind of to have from a safety perspective as well, versus what is that in multi multi-chain? Yeah. The CEO got arrested for whatever reason, who knows, but apparently he was the only one who had the C praise or access to the particular wallet that needed. Like, this is what not having kind of tooling that enables you to set up. And there's no excuse in that world. Like on Ethereum and stuff, there's a ton of things that exist, in the icon space there isn't. So genuinely excited, because a lot of these pieces can then be utilized as we start to as xCall starts to get put on more protocols. We know how xCall is designed. There's a fee component, and these tools can aid a lot of that, what needs to happen in the background to speed up how the fees get burned, purchase ICX burnt via multi-sig, whatever it may be. But but having infrastructure like this is crucial. Otherwise, it comes down to, okay, now we're missing this piece, which means we got to build this now versus taking something that's already been built. So, yeah, very excited. Okay. The best for last.
Yeah, this is very cool. This is good vibes.
Yeah.
We know Gangsta we know Gangstaverse. Recently, there was the land reveal. So the Gangstaverse land. You would have bought land certificates prior, and now you could actually exchange those and see what kind of land in the Gangstaverse you own. And later on, you're going to have to defend that land with your gangsters. So this is part of the Gangstaverse lore. In the meanwhile, they've just gone and expanded to Base, which is the Ethereum layer 2 ran by Coinbase. It's getting massive traction. There's a lot of eyeballs on that, and Gangstaverse is amongst these apps that are getting highlighted. They're getting attention. They're in the ecosystem lists. They've done very well in that sense. And why is it good for the game? Because it's going to open up Gangstaverse and everything that it does to such a broader public, a bigger group of people. And you might be thinking, wait, don't all these people need GangstaBet NFTs to be able to play the game? The answer right now is no, they don't. What's going to happen is users who own GangstaBets on Icon, they're actually going to be able to stake their GangstaBet NFTs. And once a GangstaBet NFT is staked on Icon, it's going to spawn 15 gangsters on Base, which are then usable and playable by users on Base. And they can play Gang Wars games for free. They can put up Ethereum wagers to play the game. And if they like doing so, they can come back for more. And I believe that I guess staking your gangster on Icon, there's going to be a limited amount of spaces for that. It's going to yield you
initially.
Okay,
I believe 500 slots. Yeah,
that's like a little less than 10% of all gangster bets. It's going to yield you some sort of revenue, right? Like I guess maybe a percentage of the wagers that people are putting up. So it's going to bring users and players to the game that's already been developed and is only improving over time. So this methodology, I think is very smart and it's very cool. And it happened so fast. That's all I can say.
It did. Look, some of the perks, you get a bit of insights working closely with these teams, because obviously Venture 23 is one of the teams backing and heavily influenced do a lot of work in the Icon ecosystem. But you know what? Like I keep coming back to, they actually give a damn, right? So even in this, you can see huge opportunity base, all the light, like new user base. Yeah, let's do it. But the one thing they did was, no, but we launched on Icon and let's make sure that all of that has utility as well. So I really love the locking of the NFTs and the minting, because all of a sudden then the collection has gotten more, not value, what's the word? Utility. And you can start to see that this kind of gives them the option to expand on more chains from a game perspective, but that number of NFTs on Icon locking, etc., can start to ramp up, giving people options. And I'm sure something will play out over there in terms of demand. People, if they want to take part in the wars, start unstaking, which creates, maybe more demand for players waiting in games, which makes the APR rise. I mean, this is not something I've seen, but I'm guessing this is how all the mechanics will start to play, because you've got an entire new base coming, new user base. So magical when I do that accidentally. The new user base coming in and playing the game. So kudos to the team. They're front and center. In the background, we're working, like, obviously there's a bridge that built something. This is not like, they're not transferring millions of dollars. All they're transferring is, yes, the information is locked, and they're able to then, so it doesn't need a amazing bridge built, etc. But this opportunity came quick. there's no reason in the background now we can't capitalize to kind of get xCall contracts deployed where they need to be, and then update this integration to actually be sending messages back and forth when the NFTs need to get minted and locked. Not saying this is happening, but I'm giving again an example that this is kind of the opportunities that presents itself now when our current ecosystem builders, who have been a bit trapped, let's not lie, like they're stuck in the icon space with no new users and things like that, because we need to get these integrations going. But it's happening, and if they're expanding, then we can leverage off that to kind of go, okay, you've got a new user base, let's prioritize getting some kind of integration going if your protocol or game or anything like that actually needs that and is going to utilize that in terms of utilize xCall. So yeah, I love this. I love how they've done it. I love now they're going to be 2 spots where you can battle, and excited to see where Gangster Bet keeps evolving to.
You know, the weirdest thing, it popped onto my feed, but it didn't pop onto my feed from Gangsterverse, like the handle or any iconists. Like, it popped onto my feed coming from Build on Base or some sort of base ecosystem aggregator. I'm like, what? Like, I know that little tip Fedora had logo, and I see Gangsterverse. At first, you subconsciously kind of scroll past, but I had to like scroll back and go like, wait a second, I know this stuff, and it's obviously like rung a bell because I'd read it, but I hadn't. You know how it goes. You see stuff and you kind of subconsciously just park it. So seeing it that way, I was pleasantly surprised, and very happy about
it. Yep. Cool. And did we cover this bridge? So obviously you can. This is where we didn't cover it, but I alluded they've got a bridge, and this is, you can actually bridge your loot crates that you've won or bought on Icon to a base to utilize it in those wars, right, David?
I want to say yes, but
yes, David.
I don't have any loot crates to
to
bridge. So I guess for any users interested or any users with loot crates, just hop over to the Gangsterverse Medium page, which is going to explain to you what the benefits are for doing that. Yeah.
Cool.
And then I guess that wraps it up, Fez. I'm looking at the clock and we have like 2 minutes to wrap this up and stay under the hour, which is magical.
Okay. What do you got?
Nothing. I just want you to drop the disclaimer. Oh,
yes. Well, I haven't done it in a while. Okay, not financial advice. That's how it goes. Everyone, not financial advice. Definitely not. 2 guys who now work in the ecosystem, feel very passionately about it, and do what we can to make sure that our community knows what's going on, not just from a foundation perspective, but actually in the broader ecosystem as well. So remember, they're just our thoughts, not financial advice. I was rusty, David. I know. Sorry.
Rusty, yeah. Do you want to do it again, or do you want to call it a day?
No, we'll call it.
All right. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Take care, everyone.
Bye.